Hey there, folks. It's the E-Man here, and I guess today on the E-Man show, I'm going to be showing another Castlevania title, Castlevania Bloodlines for the Sega Genesis. As well, some of you may not know, or you may know, is that a lot of Castlevania games were mainly a Nintendo affair. Like, it's very unusual for Castlevania game to really be on anything else around this era. But I guess Konami decided to make a Sega Genesis Castlevania game. I think it's one of the only other major game, I think, that was ever a Castlevania game that was on a Sega system, I believe, was Castlevania Sympathy of the Night. Of course, the North American Saturn, of course, did not get that game. We got it on the PlayStation. Yeah, so it's kind of weird to think that there's only like one other Castlevania game, and it was on the Saturn and not anything else. Yes, well, this one takes place in 1917, like a little bit after World War I. Yeah, kind of in that kind of era. Now, another interesting fact about this game is that this game was Castlevania trying to link up with Bram Stoker's Dracula novel a little bit. Because supposedly the character you play in this is John Morris, the son of Quincy Morris, supposedly. And, he's... Of course, in this game, you have two main characters. You have Eric Lecard, and you have, John Morris, and he wields the vampire killer whip, and Eric wields the Lecard spear. And I don't know if it's really spoilers. Most people know this, but supposedly this spear was made by Alucard, the son of Dracula, which you get to play as him in Castlevania Sympathy of the Night on the PlayStation. Of course, now there's been released on the PSP, and of course now there's a collection on the PS4. So now you can actually play Rondo of Blood and Sympathy of the Night. Yeah, the Metroidvania ones. Of course, a lot of these Castlevania games I'm showing you are kind of what Castlevania was originally before they wanted to add all the RPG elements and whatnot. This game doesn't seem particularly long, as I remember, and I don't remember it being that difficult. The way this game is, I could technically play through both characters, but I think the easiest character to play as, I believe, is Eric, and I think we're probably going to play as him. Well, yeah, let's talk about this a minute. Yeah. Essentially, this game, the opening represents that this is out of order with the usual Castlevania universe. It takes place in a more modern era, because originally a lot of the Castlevania games kind of take place in the Middle Ages and whatnot. So this one's kind of out of place. Essentially, Dracula's been dead for a while, and his castle's in ruins and whatnot. And then I guess this witch accidentally resurrects, Elizabeth Bartley back from the dead, and she's the niece of Dracula. And she had been dead for a couple hundred years before. Some witch brings her back to life or something. So, of course, then she goes to Castlevania to get, the remains of her uncle, and then these guys have to chase her all over Europe. So you're not going to be in Dracula's castle the whole time. Now, a lot of people might think that the controls in this are a little bit weird, or it kind of goes back. I think this game is trying to pay homage to the original Castlevania a little bit, which is why they probably took some kind of a license with this about that particular thing. Well, I guess that's enough summing up. I guess we'd probably start it up. As many of you are familiar with, I don't know if you grew up with the Sega Genesis, the classic Sega logo comes up. Yep. All right. Well, let's get going here. Now that, folks, was Wall Chicken. Yeah, it's one of those weird kind of things about Castlevania games. A lot of them you could break walls and there'd be food in there. A lot of times it would be called Leg of Werewolf or whatever. But yeah, this does pay homage to the original Castlevania. I think it has an aesthetic towards that. Well, I guess it's back to the game then. As you see, this game has some aesthetics that are a little bit crazy, looking like these skeletons and this guillotine thing swinging. Yeah, this game's full of these little nidbits that look kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, it was you know, this was the Sega Genesis, and some people think that Sega Genesis didn't do things very good, but I think this game is definitely one of the good ones, I guess. Well, let's go then. More Wall Chicken. Sorry there, folks. Just want to pause here a second. Talk about this scene here. As you can see, there's like a reflective water, and that is quite an interesting effect for a Sega Genesis game to be doing. Actually, I remember trying to play this on other emulators, and a lot of other emulators had a hard time playing this game, like because of the weird effects that they were doing here, kind of difficult. So, a lot of emulators could not even play the ROM of this. Anyway, let's get back on track here. We are essentially on level 2, the Atlantis shrine. As you can see, earlier in this, it showed water rising, and yeah, it's kind of like the motif for this particular level. All right, on to the game. Yeah, this is interesting here. How the water is drained out. Now you see like looks like a trench and like this sunken ship there. That's it's kind of a cool motif. On this stage, the boss is going to be a giant like golem thing. It's kind of a cool fight. Okay, here we go. Well, there you have it, folks. Castlevania Bloodlines. I'm probably going to do a part 2 and finish this game up because there's only one more level after this one. This is the Palace of Versailles in France. Now, there's a lot of ominous history about the Palace of Versailles, you know, the French Revolution, how the French queen was so selfish and whatnot, and, you know, you can't feed them cake, then feed them bread. Yeah, it was that kind of a thing, and it's like the French kind of have an interesting bad luck history and whatnot. The next level is Castle Prosperian in England after this level, and that's where Elizabeth Bartley has taken Dracula's remains to resurrect him. Yeah, basically you're chasing her to try to stop her. Now, this game does seem a lot shorter than a lot of other Castlevania games, at least in my regard. I'm amazed how well I've done through this playthrough, because you have limited continues in this game, so it's one particular interesting issue about this game. Well, anyway, I hope you guys tune in for part 2 of Castlevania Bloodlines. I may be doing the second part out of order, because there might be some other videos I might want to try to do. Anyway, I, as usual, like and subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is the E-Man signing off from the E-Man show. I'll see you on the next E-Man show. Catch you guys later.